pathetic last night in terms of how this game is officiated. 22 accepted penalties for over 200 yards. It slows the game down. It makes it nearly impossible for a team to get into rhythm. And it's so inconsistent. That's what happened on Monday Night Football as the Bills top the Jets, get a big division win, send the Jets to 2-4 in a 23-20 final. It was bad. And how bad was it? You even have quarterbacks, namely Aaron Rodgers, saying that, well, even the roughing the passer penalty should have been called.
No, they weren't all your side of the ball, obviously. Can you just talk a little bit about the penalties tonight?
Yeah, it seemed a little ridiculous. Some of them seemed really bad, including the roughing the passer on me. That's not roughing the passer. I was well play sarcastic ball if we're going to call those things. And I thought the one on Kinlaw was not roughing the passer either. So.
We got 1 for 4 in the red zone. You was a game by 3 points. What was breaking down the red zone?
Nothing. We had chances. We had a walk-in touchdown with Braylon. And we had a phantom holding call. Had a chance with G twice. So we had our chances.
They had their chances. They also, we saw, 4 missed kicks in this game, too. And a possible game that the Jets go in and think they're winning, and then the refs insert themselves. It wasn't all about the refs. It went both ways here against Buffalo, too. And I look at this and think to myself, the more we have replay, the more that we have of the refs counting on replay to bail them out. There's less accountability now, too, with officiating across the league. And when you think about, well, there's never been accountability. Well, there was whenever there was Mike Pereira in charge of officiating. When Dean Blandino took over after Mike Pereira left for TV, there was accountability weekly. Videos released. He would narrate certain things and try to explain why certain things were called, why it was a good call, even though everyone expected there should be a no call. Now they don't speak. There's no accountability whatsoever. You have all of the veteran officials, for the most part, all the white hats, the head refs, retiring or going into a different line of work. You have one who now works for the Buffalo Bills. From the league office on down, it is so inconsistent. It's gotten worse and worse, and it's brutal to watch. The 22 accepted penalties, the most we've had this season. I doubt we have more than that moving forward. I mean, that's probably the high water mark. But when the review in the booth can bail out the officials and they're huddling up waiting on someone to tell them in their area what to do, when Troy Aikman, who, by the way, is the most vocal about this among the analysts on TV, does a great job giving his honest opinion on how bad things are. The defensive pass interference calls, lopsided, and bailouts for bad quarterback play and bad offense. And they're fast-tracking, as a league, officials into the NFL for multiple reasons. Got plenty of people retiring, DEI, and much more. It's just not the same protocol and structure that we're used to seeing. And coaches can't say anything. Rodgers can. Coaches can't. Owners can't. They'll get fined. And coaches even get tired of turning in complaints because it does nothing but, well, maybe the league will send you an apology. Say, hey, we missed that one. It does you no good. So where are we headed with this? I hope that we see more accountability turning towards that whenever they actually have someone in place that will speak to the media. But until then, we're headed down a path where it's going to get worse and worse with the fast track of what we're seeing. It is not. It's not a situation of intention. It's not intentional what the officials are doing on the field. I don't buy that. I just think it's incompetent. They're incompetent because they're asked to do so much within the framework of how they've structured this rule book to favor an offense in what is a very defensive playing league right now. That's because the officials are inserting themselves into way too many games. Josh Allen, the Bills, they overcome Aaron Rodgers and the Hail Mary, which if you're watching the Manning cast, Bill Belichick is calling this. before it happens, based on whatever defense Sean McDermott runs out. And when they went with the cover two, they called for the Hail Mary, and the best at it is Aaron Rodgers. They get the touchdown to end the half. Bills come back to win 23-20 and send the Jets to 2-4. The Jets then, meanwhile, turn around and early this morning, trade for Davante Adams. Davante Adams, he gets his wish. He gets to return and play with Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is running the show in New York. We've known that for a while. He gets the receiver that he's been begging for. Rodgers did more than call out the officials last night at the presser. He also called out Mike Williams for not running the red line down the field, down the numbers when he threw that pick. That was a great play by the safety for Buffalo. And now Mike Williams is on the trade block. Jets are trying to move him because they bring in Davante Adams, who should give them a boost. Or will he? Will he? Because Vegas, the odds of making the playoffs for the New York Jets as of yesterday were plus 110. And right now, they're plus 110. So it's a drastic move by the New York Jets that they had to make. It's an aggressive move that they needed to make with this being an all-in season, plenty of talent around Aaron Rodgers as it is, and now he gets someone that can be inserted immediately, and there's a great rapport there. But pairing him with, on the opposite side, Garrett Wilson, you have Conklin at tight end, Breece Hall in the backfield. There's plenty of other options. Lazard, who's there and has been a go-to player for Rodgers. There's still something not right. We've known over the last couple of weeks that there was some inconsistency, some plenty of gripes about what was going on with the coaching staff. Well, since then, interim head coach now. They fired Robert Saleh. They've changed play callers. Todd Downing is now calling plays instead of Nathaniel Hackett. This is Aaron Rodgers' show. And now there's literally no more excuses on what is a Super Bowl or bust type team where all the hype last year was about that, and now they're going to scratch and claw trying to get into the AFC side of the playoff bracket. For Las Vegas, it's a move that they were going to make by the trade deadline. But before November 5th, they do this based on the offer they received from the Jets, who were, again, in need because of last night's loss. So compensation is the third-round pick that is being sent to Las Vegas. It can turn into a second-round pick, though, if Davante Adams either becomes an all-pro this season or they make the AFC Championship game. Then Vegas gets a second-round pick. But it will jumpstart an offense, in theory, for the New York Jets that needs to do more than score 20 points. In 2+ seasons with Vegas, 2,900 yards, 23 touchdowns for Davante Adams. No playoff appearances. Not all on him, by the way. The quarterback play has been awful. The trade, though, they received a first-round pick. They sent a first-round pick and a second-round pick to Green Bay. The first-round pick was used on Quay Walker, and the second-round pick was used on Christian Watson. So in thinking about who won that trade, it's clear that it was Green Bay based on the way they're playing. And the Raiders had to make a move here, trying to make a step towards the future for a guy who wasn't going to be playing for them much longer and didn't want to play. All of a sudden, the hamstring injury is good to go. And he's already good to go in New York. He's making the appearance today on the McAfee show in the background with Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers on weekly with McAfee, and Davante Adams in the background photobombing in the middle of the interview. And said that his hamstring's good to go. No issues. Ready to play immediately. Davey Hudson joins us. Davey, you think this gives a boost to New York? Because I'm looking at it here. So the win total in Vegas, expectation-wise, went from 7.8 to 8.2, and the playoff probability moved from 31% to 40%. However, they still have the same odds if you want to bet just do they make the playoffs or not at plus 110.
I actually think they're in a good spot to make the playoffs, and it's not so much because of the addition of Davante Adams. It's more or less because of the schedule that's remaining of the 11 games they have left on their schedule, only 3 of those teams have a winning record, and I don't anticipate the other teams having a winning record when they play them. They'll play at Pittsburgh this Sunday night. And, I mean, Pittsburgh, they might be rolling out Russell Wilson. It looks like he's taking some first-team reps, so we don't know exactly how that's going to go. But the good news is –
No, he's taking all the reps, by the way, Wilson.
all of them?
Yeah,
okay.
He's expected to start.
So, listen, as of
crazy.
the last couple of years, it's like I'm not exactly one to have faith in Russell Wilson, so we'll see. Even though Pittsburgh has a good defense, you saw the offense have a spark last night, and, Greg the Leg definitely had his struggles. And,
Yeah.
I mean, Rodgers put them in a position to win. This is a situation where he has no more excuses to make. He has gotten full control. He wanted Saleh gone. He says that wasn't his thing. But after the last 2 weeks, what we've seen happen with that franchise, you can tell Aaron Rodgers is the one pulling the strings. I think they will ultimately make the playoffs. And last night, if they had Devontae Adams in that game instead of Mike Williams, they're coming out ahead and they're going to win it.
Yeah, probably. I'll buy that Devontae Adams is going to make that route and he's going to catch that football from if you buy what Rodgers is saying.
Yeah. I mean, no surprise with the injury concern. There's a lot of other Vegas players that aren't exactly injured that just aren't playing at the moment.
Yeah. No, but so the other problem with the Jets, 11 penalties last night. Again, I'm complaining about the refs here and the inconsistencies, but that's going to continue. 11 penalties for 110 yards. That will hold you back. But, I mean, again, phantom holding call in the red zone, as Rodgers put it. He's even saying that the Bills were screwed over in this. And what a win for Buffalo, where, of course, last year, that's the game where Rodgers was hurt in week 1 on the fourth snap. And the Jets went on to win that game on a punt return. And they, a year later, back in that same stadium, get a win, and then Josh Allen gets Amari Cooper. Bills trade for Amari Cooper today, and that means Cooper's now been traded 3 times, I believe. Yeah, so he started with the Raiders, then he goes to the Cowboys, then he's traded to Cleveland, now he's traded to Buffalo. So he's on his 4th franchise, and he's the forgotten player, much like we forget about some of these quarterbacks like Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold. I haven't thought about Amari Cooper in a while. And now we will, because he's playing with a great quarterback, and he's playing on a winning team, unlike where he came from in Cleveland.
Looked serviceable when Joe Flacco was leading the Browns last year, and I think, having Josh Allen and being the veteran force in that locker room in Buffalo, I think, he's always been one of those guys. You never hear a bad thing about Amari Cooper as far as what he's doing off the field and in the locker room. He's a team-first guy. So I think this is a great move for Buffalo, and, both teams that played last night just got better.
Yep, and again, the Jets, pressure's on now. Rodgers needs to lead that team the way he was leading the Jets, not this past offseason, but the previous offseason. He brought that team together in an offseason where there was a lot of turmoil going. Robert Saleh was trying to get something done. They get rid of Zach Wilson. They put him on the bench. They bring in Rodgers, and Rodgers was the opposite of what he was at least viewed as perception-wise in Green Bay, where it sounded like he was not a great teammate. Again, that's what we were told from the outside looking in. He was the opposite of that in 2023. He was hanging out with Sauce Gardner. Gardner's gifting him a chain. They're on Hard Knocks. This year, really no talk of it. In fact, Rodgers is in Egypt, I believe, instead of at mandatory minicamp. It's just a different vibe. Rodgers has got to bring that same type of energy and boost that he brought anytime he was around the Jets, even when he was hurt. If he was there, if he was present, he was on the sideline. They generally played some winning football, competitive football in that underdog role. Tom Brady is likely, if it hasn't happened within the last 15 minutes, we'll have our guys double check this. The NFL owners are meeting today in Atlanta. That took they got underway around noon today. The main thing on the docket, other than looking ahead to some international games, is Tom Brady, and he's a part of an partnership group that is wanting to make a bid and has made a bid for 10% ownership of the Las Vegas Raiders. That's expected to be approved today at the NFL owners meetings taking place in Atlanta. So Brady's approval will meet. Go ahead, Dave. You have it?
60 seconds ago. Tom Brady has been approved by the NFL owners as a minority owner of the Raiders per Albert Breer.
Okay, so this is just happening. And again, the meeting was expected to adjourn around 4:15, 4:30 Eastern time. So here's what this means. They approve him as a part of this group, by the way. So you have Tom Brady, who's a part of an ownership structure making a bid with a guy named Tom Wagner, who's one of the main financial guys involved in this. They had to increase their offer for that 10% stake in the Raiders because the rest of the NFL owners, the valuation on the Raiders was at $6.7 billion. And the ownership group across the league felt like, hey, it looks like Brady's getting a sweetheart deal here. Now, call it whatever you want it for with the amount they're paying. That's undisclosed. At least it is for now. But the owners felt like that this was a huge discount that Brady was getting. They don't want that at all. They always want more. That way the value of their franchise goes up whenever they want to sell off potentially a 10% stake of their own. So Brady and his team came back with another offer, and this is the offer that has just been approved. What this means, though, and back in the spring, the rest of the NFL owners got together and changed some of the rules and structure, anticipating that Brady would eventually become part owner of the Raiders. This means that because of his broadcasting role with Fox, Brady as an owner now can no longer attend production meetings with Fox, with Kevin Burkhardt, and the production team that will go into the NFL on Fox. He can't attend practices. Typically, the broadcast crew arrives in the city of the team that is hosting the game on Friday. They attend the Friday practice. They have their production meetings with the home team on Friday after practice. And then on Saturday, as the visiting team arrives at the hotel, that's when the head coach and select players go and meet with the production group of the TV broadcast. Brady won't be able to attend those as an NFL owner. He needed 23 of 31 owners to approve this. Of course, Davis had to recuse himself of the vote. He got that easily. But here's the real interesting part of this, because Brady has been criticized early on in his broadcast role as being too nice, right? Well, as an NFL owner, you can't criticize the officials. As a part of this structure, they don't want you to be overly critical of something that's going on with the Shield. And that might be in the back of his mind as he's calling these games. It has to be now, because they've changed the structure and the rules, which would prohibit some of this. So he certainly can't tamper. So you can't talk about a player's situation at a trade deadline on what he should or should not be thinking at that moment. And on top of it all, you have a prominent voice in football, who's now a prominent voice in football operations for the Raiders, discussing other teams and aspects of those players who may or may not be a focus of who the Raiders are seeking in the offseason. It's a fascinating structure to what the NFL was trying to avoid with how they set up these rules. But it also means he can't play. So for all the rumors about whether or not Brady's going to come back and play, he can't, because an NFL employee cannot then own a team. It's different than the NBA. The NBA changed their policy with the NBA PA. NFL PA, you cannot throw in the reason. So in 2012, Bud Adams, who was trying to get Peyton Manning to be the next Titans quarterback, rumor was he was trying to throw in potential ownership stake whenever Manning retired. Can't do that. Can't do that with Rodgers, by the way, in New York, even though that was the rumor whenever he came out of the darkness retreat and said he saw green. Can't give him ownership stake. Can't do that as a player. So that means Brady is not going to be an owner and also play in the National Football League. So that puts all of that to bed here as officially today by the approval of Brady becoming 10% owner of the Las Vegas Raiders. And let's also say Brady has wanted to play for Vegas. Gronk confirmed this a couple of seasons ago. Whenever Gronk retired, he said that it was all set that they were going to go and play in Las Vegas with the Raiders whenever Brady left the Patriots, except John Gruden screwed it up, and they end up in Tampa. So he's had his eyes, he's been seeking Vegas for a while, and he and Mark Davis get along well. Davis is going to give him a big say on what's going on with that franchise, the franchise that just traded away Davante Adams for a third-round pick, could become a second-round pick if the Jets not only make the playoffs, they have to go to the AFC Championship game. Again, Brady, official to the NFL ownership. And I do wonder if the broadcast career of Brady is, not, if it's not over, it's slowing down before it comes to an abrupt end, just based on the policies that are in place. It's almost impossible to analyze a game based on the lack of criticism that the NFL expects from its ownership group about other teams. Davey, you think he's going to continue making that $37.5 million to call games? I think it's not for long.
What is it, 10-year deal total?
Yep, in year one.
I think you maybe get to year 3, and
I think that's going to be
then
tough.
We'll see. We'll reassess after that. Yeah, I mean, there's obviously not going to be a situation where things change this year, but I mean, if I'm Fox in this situation, there's definitely a lot of questions that are going to be out there, because you're wanting to give the audience the best possible broadcast that you can as far as the critiques. And, there was fun stuff. I was watching the Manning cast last night, and, bringing in Bill Belichick and him basically just trashing his former AFC East rivals. Like, that's great TV.
Yeah.
Now, I get you're not exactly going to get that from the color commentator in your normal broadcast setup for the NFL's Fox Game of the Week, but if you're really having to pull back on so many different layers, it will dilute the product.
Well, and there have been former players who are not good in the broadcast role. Brady has been very lukewarm at best.
Yeah.
If you're just being fair to what we've seen, there's more there. There's an entertaining part of him that I haven't seen, and I do wonder if it's because of the rules that are in place. And again, they changed them. They tweaked them back in the spring based on the knowledge that Brady and this partnership with Tom Wagner, that they'd increased their offer and were coming back with another one that would potentially be approved in the fall. He's been criticized for being too nice at times. This would be exactly who he would have to be now.
His name doesn't carry as much weight as Tom Brady, but as far as his broadcasting, I think things could set up very well for Greg Olsen.
Oh, yeah, I mean, he
does a great job.
Oh, yeah.
So this might be the opportunity to get him back in the number one booth.
He's number one analyst talent, no doubt. So this video that's gone viral, Ravens fan who's brutally attacking and punching Commanders fans on the street, just seeking them out. Let's see this. So you've got a random fan wearing a Commanders jersey.
Do we got stragglers? Do we got stragglers? Do we got stragglers? Do we got a straggler? Do we got a straggler? Do we got a straggler? I don't lose. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, this man should be jailed no question here. And they're still looking for him. Is that the thing?
Correct.
I mean, it's not hard to find. I mean, they set this up with knowledge that he wanted to go and beat someone's ass. This guy needs his ass kicked.
Yeah, the information that's out there, this guy's name is on the web. I'm still waiting for confirmation, so I'm not going to throw that out at this current moment. But Baltimore police still looking into the incident. But this is one of those people where you see they've been given everything in life. They've been able to escape all bad situations they've gotten themselves into, and now they drink a little bit too much and think they can just go out there and just beat the hell out of whoever they want and not have to worry about any consequences. Unfortunately, that does not look like that's how this situation is going to end for this Ravens fan. If I were MT&T Bank, right?
Yeah.
The stadium, I would ban him from life. It's just a bad look for your fan base altogether. And again, I know one person doesn't represent the entirety of a fan base.
No.
But this is just the behavior that's unacceptable. There's no place for it in today's world. And hopefully this guy gets the justice that he deserves.
Well, again, they'll find him. Assault and charges will be filed here. I mean, again, just walking up a sidewalk and you have someone who feels like they're above the law, trying to be Billy Badass, and instead needs to have his ass kicked because of the way he's acting. And then everyone that's who condones this, who's who's laughing and filming this, also they should be punished for this. For Commanders fans wearing a jersey and walking down a sidewalk after what was a great game ends up like this, where you can tell by watching it that they were caught off guard completely.
No idea what was coming.
And they were walking, on the other hand, this guy walking down the sidewalk just looking for a Commanders fan.
From what I've seen across social media, it looks as though this man was located as far as who he was and who his employer is. And I did see some information as far as it was an email that looked like it was sent out that this man is no longer an employee of the current company he was working for. But yeah, I'm really interested to see where this goes, and hopefully, he's behind bars.
That means he's been found. If all of that has taken place, and good. Hopefully, he's not walking down a sidewalk anytime soon, just based on those actions there. Coming up on Friday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern, exclusively and only on OutKick.com. Maintaining with Tyrus. Tyrus is going to have a sit-down with President Donald Trump. Again, that's coming up this Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern. It drops exclusively and only at OutKick.com. You can check out Donald Trump and Tyrus at OutKick.com.